Is this thing live? Is the feed working? I think it's working. I think we're live. What's going on, everybody? Everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you are watching this. I am square in the middle of working on one GSXR 750. So I am touching base with you guys, seeing what y'all are up to. Not really a ton on this end. A few updates with the GSXR 750 that I'll be bringing to you guys, as well as answering any questions. If you guys have any questions as far as what all I am up to with this ride. So if you're new to the show, thank you for stopping by. This is my little corner of YouTube where I get to interact with you guys directly. This show is basically just a background noise generator anyway. So, it's talking about motorcycles and other kinds of stuff that just end up happening to happen on the show. It's also a place for me to kind of work through show ideas or video ideas, I should say. Get you guys up to speed as far as like what topics I'm trying to work through. And sometimes those topics really, for whatever reason, they just don't translate to a standalone video. So I'll just kind of burn through one of these topics on a live show, so we can all just kind of hang out together and watch me implode in real time. It's an opportunity for me to answer any questions about ride and review bikes that I've done of late. Now it is, as of this video, December. Yeah, so we're probably not going to be seeing too many ride and reviews, at least until the weather clears up and it warms up. So, in saying all of that, we've got a little something going on over here. And what exactly is that back there, that monstrosity? I've been a little bit hard at work this afternoon getting this thing squared away, getting it ready for its new exhaust. Looks like M4 has given us a ship date of, I want to say it's the tail end of this week. So I wanted to get this bike knocked out. I got to get the ECU shipped off to get tuned by Two Wheel Dyno Works. And in the meantime, I have installed a G2 quick throttle on this bike. And what else? That's really about it. Like I say, just getting it ready for its new exhaust, which I am very much looking forward to. Much looking forward to getting this little project done. What's funny about the Gixxer is that it has taken me, how do I put this? It has taken me longer just to get the stock exhaust off of this bike than it did for me to do the entire exhaust, including taking the thing apart and putting it all back together on the 636. So that's just kind of the nature of this bike. Everything's a little bit tighter. It's a little bit more cramped, with that engine being a little bit more forward tilted and forward placed. So anyway, though, not the end of the world. Pretty easy stuff. One of the things that comes up on this particular bike are the header gaskets. How do they go on, and what gives with these things? You can't see them because they've already been crushed, but there's a little tab that goes on the back side of the gasket. You may not know it by looking at it, but that is the cylinder head side. So you stick the thing on there, and presumably those little tabs will fold, and it holds the gasket in place. So, hey, if nothing else, if you're working on one of these bikes, maybe that little tip or trick will help you out. But aside from that, again, not a ton going on. I was able to get this thing out for a little bit today when I got off work. Just was able to get it out, run it through its paces real quick, and say bye-bye to a stock GSXR 750. They never really stay stock for very long, do they? Anyway, getting this thing ready, getting it set up, I got to tell you, getting on this bike, even though it's a little bit chilly and, well, it wasn't ideal. Well, it was a really pretty day, but it was a little bit cold, and I didn't really get a chance to play with it too much. But I got to say, it's always a blast on this particular bike. And again, it's just going to be even that much more fun once we get this whole thing put back together again, which, by the way, I can only promise, I'm hoping that it's going to go together a lot easier than it came apart, because you know how we do. We got all the stuff, all the bags, right? These bolts right here, these guys, that were holding that exhaust right there onto that motorcycle right there were put on by somebody who was having one hell of a bad day. I mean, damn. I'm not kidding. I thought that I was going to strip the threads right out of the cylinder head. So, yeah, that would have been a bad day. But anyway, got them all off seemingly without incident. I haven't chased the threads yet, but I am going to do that. It's kind of a thing that I'll do whenever I'm working on these types of things. Steel bolts going into aluminum heads, sometimes got to be a little bit leery of that. But again, getting these things off of that bike was nutty. As a matter of fact, can't really see it. I mean, I don't have it in my hand, but anyway, the things that hold, the little clamps, I guess you'd call them, that hold the exhaust of the cylinder head. Normally you put them on with just enough force to bend them slightly. These things are like folded over. So yeah, somebody was definitely getting that thing on there with all of their might. But let me check in with you guys. RMAC is first in. Sup, Professor? What's up, RMAC? DM's checking in. Good evening, be in chat and friends. Got the ball guy with the flex and the specs. I like it. Ryan said we need Wings Wednesday mini series. Well, put together a couple of aircraft you would like for me to bring to you. One of the things, I tell you what, there is one that I would do straight off the bat, which is the P40. I mean, that thing is, I tell you what, that is an aircraft that in fact, I've got one of the manuals right there. Funny you should mention it. Anyway, it's a kind of an interesting airplane because it was, it's an interwar plane that was never supposed to kind of be anything or do anything, and ended up, it was actually a pretty badass aircraft, and would have been even better had it had an opportunity to be developed. But yeah, I might do that. Let's see, got everybody checking in. Sam saying used bikes are a turkey shoot. Well, used bikes are more like a crap shoot, man. I don't know. Lately, I don't know. Sam's checking in. English, Ryan. Second language. Skid's checking in. What's happening? Sam's liking the experimentals and the B-36. B-36 is an interesting aircraft. SR-71, A-10 Warthog. Good aircraft. Interesting history with the A-10. The absolutely, positively most beloved aircraft by guys with their boots on the ground. You hear the burp and everything, all your problems go away. Talking to it was a lady that was an A-10 pilot. And she goes, yeah, you just put the reticule on whatever you want to go away and pull the trigger. That's it. Just burp. That's it. Whatever was in that little pip is now no longer there. It's a cloud of dust. Armac saying, P-51, F-4 Corsair. The F-16. F-16 was designed to be unstable. Actually, the F-16, it's not so much that it is unstable, it's unbalanced is the main thing. It's kind of a weird aircraft, the F-16. P-51, okay, so P-51. The P-51 was kind of a dog when it was first released out into the world. It was designed as a British airplane, originally with the Allison engine in it. And that engine, awesome engine, but it was never really destined for anything because it never had a two-stage or dual-stage supercharger. It always had a single stage. It would outperform the Merlin at lower RPM, at lower, that too, but at lower altitudes, especially if it had the right kind of fuel. That's the other thing. Merlin was originally designed to run on very high octane, and Allison didn't really start making good power until they bumped up the boost. You got to remember that whole lead up to what would have been the P-51 was all a bunch of very transitional technology, a bunch of, uh, 5-inch bore, 5.5-inch stroke V12s with 6-to-1 compression, trying to run, a 2 bar of boost basically. And if you had the right fuel, you could use it. And the Aussies were big into hot rodding those Allisons. And then the Corsair, late in the war, good aircraft, 2800 Wasp, twin Wasp, awesome engine, extremely good supercharging system, very expensive to make. And the Hellcat was a better aircraft, technically speaking, for purpose, but for outright performance, the Corsair would be what you're looking for. There are some interesting post-war bombers. Gopher's checking in. What's up, brother? Got followed all the way to lunch today by Hillsboro. Ugh, that's bummer. Skid saying the Super Sport 950. Yep, it did go away. Not surprised since Panigale V2 went with smaller displacement. Slightly more comfy egos. Yeah, here's the funny thing with the V2 Panigale. Have y'all seen one in the flesh? That is an oddly large motorcycle. I have not ridden one or even thrown a leg over one, but I've seen one at the dealership. And by the way, those are kind of hard to sell right now. And so here was the thing. Here is the thing. You've got the V2 Panigale, which is checking in at too many monies. All right. That thing's like $17,000 to get the one that you want. And to put this into perspective, let me just go ahead and have the overlying base tone of this conversation being that your generic, you're just walking around leader bike is going to be about $18,000. And every single one of them you can get with no freight, no prep, except for the R1. And that's only if somebody is like claiming that they want the thing. But a lot of times you can get a deal on a leader bike. V2 Panigale checking in at $17,000. The R9, and by the way, Ducati dealerships are infested with those things. The R9, on the other hand, which I don't think you guys, I felt like I was chasing a ghost trying to find an R9 to throw a leg over. Haven't found one. I've only seen one in the flesh. It was a black one, and I couldn't even sit on it because it was a sold unit. But anyway, those bikes are listed at $12,500, but you've got another $1,000 minimum on top of that in freight and prep. And if not more, we were looking, it was $1,000. Then it got bumped to basically freight and prep being $1,500. So that's $14,000. Tax, title, and license. That's gonna wear you out. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of money for a bike that makes 107 horsepower at the rear tire. I mean, I don't care about the torque figure. I get that it means something, but 107 horsepower at the rear tire ain't good enough to be asking that kind of scratch for. Not when you consider what the 600 Super Sport's putting down. CBR 600 is going to put down 104 or 102, 103. So will the GSXR 600. The 636 will put down 111, 108 to the rear tire stock. So R9's not looking like too great of a prospect. And I'll take this even a step further, talking about the R9. On this channel, I've done a bunch of videos of late, and it's interesting when I get feedback on the R9, because I've asked guys with an R9, talk to me. I want to get as much feedback as I can. And it's hard to get anybody to talk about it, mainly because a lot of the guys that have bought R9s, which again, they're very hard to even come by right now, with dealerships in my area only getting 4 or 6 for 2026, not 4 or 6 for the month of December or the month of January or for the first quarter or for the first half of the year. I'm talking about dealerships are only getting allocated 4 or 6 with a promise of maybe 2 more. So 6 or 8. But the other 2 aren't guaranteed. So what the hell? Are you kidding me? And these are just a couple of the dealerships that I've talked to that are telling me if you want one, you're going to have to put down a deposit. It's non-refundable, and you're going to be paying full boat plus full freight plus full prep. Are you there with me on this? Because that's $15,000 out the door, and that's a little too much, honestly. I mean, think about it. 12.5 plus the 1,500 puts you at 14 plus TT&L. Yeah, that's 15 large. And for $15,000, for just a little bit more, you can get a GSXR 1000 base model. You don't even have to tune the thing. You don't have to do anything to it. Just get out, make noise, ride it. Okay. As it's a restricted bike, it'll put down about 155, maybe 160 horsepower at the rear tire. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more aggressively sprung. You just set your suspension up. I literally still have red alerts, full suspension setup on the whiteboard in front of me. You set the thing up, you take it for a ride, and you're done. You got a bike that is one of the most adorable motorcycles you can ever throw a leg over, which is a stock leader bike, North American market leader bike. And you just have a bike that's just a riot for not that much money. That's probably going to be a hell of a lot more desirable long term. And this is again where things get weird. Getting back to the R9 though, a lot of the guys that have responded, I didn't get to my point, have been saying they're not really happy with it. Nobody with a V2 Panigale will admit to such blasphemy though, because Ducatista. And we don't have the RCR 990 yet, but everything that I've seen, and I have been consuming as much KTM propaganda as I possibly can, and everybody is going, it's a good street bike. Let's do shots. That's not good enough because, again, the KTM, remember, it's a $14,000 motorcycle, but that's not the bike you want. You want the technology package. To get the technology package is $1,000, and then you're going to be paying full boat, full prep, full freight. That's going to be another $1,000. That's $16,000. Then you got to add textile license fee, dock fees, and everything else. That's $17,000. Holy moly. For a bike that's, I mean, you're going to maybe put down 112, 113 to the rear tire. I mean, let's not forget that the Duke 990R put down, I think, what was it, 114 to the rear tire? The regular Duke puts down 108 or 109. The Duke R, I want to say it was like 114, 113, something like that. Basically the same horsepower as the 636. Now, say what you will about the 636, but it's arguably the best of the group, recalls notwithstanding. Whatever with the recalls as far as I'm concerned, but that's just my own personal opinion. I'm sorry, but I can't, it's hard for me to take these super middleweights seriously when you have GSXR 750 waiting in the wings. And oh my goodness, what would happen if, oh heck, I don't know, Suzuki updated the GSXR 750 with doodads and gadgets? Just saying. I mean, it's already the bully on the block when it comes to middleweight bikes. Let's not forget that it was not that long ago when it was 750cc versus 1000cc twins, 750cc fours in Superbike. So these things have got a lineage that that the rest of these bikes simply do not carry with them, unless it's a CBR 600, GSXR 600, R6. I think you get the idea. Anyway, let me get back into you guys. Oh, let's see. Hang on, guys. Okay, getting back to it. Oh, Sam, there was a placement for the B50. Yeah, they tried to replace the buff, and that did not go over well. There's another 50-year plan for that thing, by the way. Ryan saying, I'm seeing ads for R7s. Dude, there are R8. Man, it's a good looking bike now, isn't it? That refresh they did is nice. Let's see. Oh, Gopher's checking in with Armac. Said now that 890 is in the Street Fighter V2s and the new Moto. Oh, talking about the Super Sport. Yes. Break Stuff's asking, have I ever tested Avgas 100 versus 110 race fuel on a dyno? Funny you should ask. So about a zillion years ago, this guy, Foxy, and this car right here, this car made me some money back in the day. That is a Kuntz & Company 427 with a T trim, rowing my own gears. Anyway, back in the day, that was my 94 Cobra. Those are Simmons racing wheels straight from Australia. Yeah, Avgas, not so good. It's got a different specific gravity, and it is really more designed to work at altitude. So you're not getting anywhere with Avgas over any other fuel that you would run. Matter of fact, you can have a tendency to run lean on Avgas. So it's not really a good idea unless you are tuning specifically for that particular fuel. Again, it's got a lower specific gravity. It's actually lighter weight, believe it or not, than regular fuel is. Not by a lot, but by a little bit. But I did testing when that picture was taken. I was still doing the dyno stuff at flat rate, and yeah, we played around with Avgas and ran into some issues with it, unless you tuned for it. DM saying, I love the look of the R7. If only it had a CP3. You know, they make a Moto 3 kit for that bike that gets it up around 90 horsepower. Gopher saying, I've seen a V2. I raced over the Gandy Bridge. My 750 whooped its ass. I'm not surprised. The V4 my friend has walks away like I am disabled. Yeah, well, that's what the V4 is supposed to do too. Sam saying, leader bikes are overpriced. If they're overpriced, I mean, all of it's overpriced. Gopher saying, I've seen an R7. I did a ride review on the previous generation R7. I actually really liked it. Weirdly liked it. Like I say, I've only seen an R9 in the flesh, and that was at the dealership. It was a black one, which here's the thing about that bike in black. It does not do that bike any justice. It hides all the lines. I mean, that thing has got to be dynamic looking in red and white. Funny thing too. So there was one of the dealerships out here had a red and white one. And the reason why it's funny is they had it forever. I didn't realize this dealership had this bike. They had it for a while and nobody wanted it. And then some dude offered them something out of Arkansas and they took it, and it literally left the morning that I went to the dealership to look at it. It was still in inventory on their website. It's good. At DM would consider the new R7 for an around town bike. Looks like a fun bike. The new look has my interest peaked too. It is a good looking bike. And by the way, in the red and white livery, man, that 70th anniversary looks sharp, doesn't it? Sam saying, same with Harley Baggers. Oh, talking about those being overpriced. Yeah. You were saying it's 750 down at 143 and 69. That's healthy. Oh, DM saying his friend just bought a Harley lowrider. Tell you what, if you're into Harleys, that's a good looking bike. What did I just do? Oh, I just totally screwed this up. Timeout. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, I just screwed up. I just blew past every. How did I do that? Um, Gover's mom and dad have the Screaming Eagle Fat Boys. That's a fun bike to ride. Skid saying that's the best current Softail in my opinion. Can do it all. Tour, bop around, day tripper. Tell you what, I really very much like the Street Glide and the Road Glide. Gover said would love to have an RC8R or an HP4. RC8R would be at the top of my list of some of the bikes that I would have. I'm bummed out that I never had. The L5 750 is what Gopher's rocking. Very nice. I was saying, mom and dad's bikes are only $600 apart. It's good saying, loving the Street Glide, but if I were looking for a bagger again, definitely be considering a BMW K1600B. Looks are subjective, but I love the looks. They are stupid fast for a big bike. That inline six is ridiculous, and I'm waiting for it to warm up so I can go ride one of the ones that are in inventory. Sam saying, if you have to take out a loan to buy a toy, maybe you shouldn't buy it. That's one of the reasons I like Honda Grom, base model, Rebel, and Monkeys. Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys don't like having debt. Oh, why do I keep doing that? What's going on with this? Timeout. I just screwed this whole thing up again. Man, I'm just botching the feed here. Neo saying avgas is more like diesel or kerosene than pump. The thing is, it's kind of interesting. It's the ad pack that's in avgas that will that makes it what it is. And like I say, we moved away from it when dyno you started leaning out running avgas. You just have to bump your mixture up a little bit. That's what I found with that car anyway. Skids rocking the 22 Softail Street Bomb and the 24 Street Glide. Neo's saying best dyno results I have are with fuels like VP C12. Yeah, I mean, look, if you're tuning for race gas, definitely want to go with either C12. C12 is really good, but it can be a bit, I don't know. I mean, if you are tuning specifically for it, C12 is good. We had a couple of the Hellcats that were tuned on C12. Most of the time, though, we were running. I mean, we just moved everything over to corn, and the only downside to that is quality of E85 was a bit questionable at times, but yeah, it worked out pretty good. Skid saying, don't forget to hit the like. Yeah, spike the like. Hang on just a second. Let's see. Gers honestly makes if the bike makes you happy, it doesn't matter what others think. No, it doesn't ever matter what anybody else thinks. Gopher's saying, Neo's got an H2, a Z900 Cafe, very cool bike by the way, and a ZX10 RR. ZX10 RR is a good bike. I just didn't fit right on that thing. Love the Z900 Cafe. I almost wish I had that bike back. I would have done things differently knowing now what I know about that platform. And 2-track ZX10s and a ZX6. I tell you what, man, again, I just, for whatever reason, I could not get comfortable on a ZX10. But that being said, I was also the same way initially on the R1, and then come to find out that thing ended up being one of the most comfortable bikes I'd ever ridden. It's good saying, go get a Honda Shadow 750 Ace. There's a lot of nice Japanese stuff out right now. Yeah, go for Avgas is altitude. It is very much altitude dictated. Um, yeah, some of it they'll say, yeah, you want to run this Avgas and NA aircraft, a different Avgas for boosted applications. Um, it just kind of depends on what you're working with. It's been a hot minute since I've even fooled with that. So, um, oh, Neo's saying C12 is what he's currently running with. He's got a DJ 250. I would love to have a dyno over here. I really would. I would. I'm if I can work something out. I'm going to see if I can get my hands on one. I may have to rebuild it, but I'm going to see if I can get my hands on one. Oh, Break Stuff saying he usually runs a 50-50 of 110 or C12 in the KZ. Just thought about Avgas to save money. My thing is, depending on what you're doing with the bike and the state of tune that you're rocking, you're most of these bikes are really not octane limited. But if you tune for, say, one of the more highly oxygenated race fuels, that's about the only time that it really matters to go that route. But for the most part, if you're looking to just have a quality fuel, I mean, well, it's right down here, 260 GT. It's a more pure. I say pure. It's not really a pure thing, but it's a fuel that allows you the ability to have a guaranteed 110 octane. Go for it. Thank you very much. See, thank you very much for the support. I live in Apollo Beach, Florida, 5 feet above sea level. Man, I tell you what, if it were me, again, if you're tuning specifically for a fuel, any of the race gas mixes are going to do well. I don't know that, I mean, unless you are absolutely going for the very last half horsepower, going with a fuel, especially at your altitude, that you're just not going to see major jumps. Like if you live at altitude, you're going to want oxygenated fuels. That is a thing. That is a true thing. It's a naturally aspirated engine. You need oxygen in that fuel and in that combustion chamber, however you can get it. Yeah, MR12 is a good one. But any of the oxygenated fuels, and I'd have to go back and look, but 260 GT is a flat 10% ethanol. So by that measure, it is kind of oxygenated. Oh, let me scroll back up. I keep screwing this up. I keep screwing the feet up on my side. Here we go. Rob's saying, hey, Neil, I used to watch you back in the day. Nice to see you here. Cool. Gover saying Neo lives at a higher altitude. Yeah, higher altitude, you definitely need the oxygenated fuels. And if you don't mind spending the money for it, the one thing about is if you're tuning on a spec fuel, whatever that spec is, you don't mind spending the money for it, the good thing is that you never have to worry about a bad tank of gas. The guys that have done some serious builds back in the day, this is the one thing we were all sweating was basically bad E85 is like a plague of our existence with the Hellcats. And well, with the Hellcats, and then well before that with the Supras and the Vipers. That's why, where is it? That's why that kid right there always ran 260 GT. Let's see. Greg Stubb saying I'm 1 or 2 sizes big on my main jets. Nia's checking in with Gopher. Very cool. Sam's checking in 41 ratio ATF and diesel. I remember somebody telling me something about that. That was good for diesels. Captain is saying, hey, regarding Hellcats, I found the 15 through 17 have different bearing plates and superchargers than 18 plus. That is true. The 18s, much thinner walls. I get used to used 18 bearing plates. Is it worth the gain? I do most work home now. Not really. So here's the funny thing. I set every national record with a 2015. I mean, I don't, and Tim Mopar, his car was a 16. So, you know, we were trading the 10-0 record back and forth with stock boost 93 octane. You know, we were trading, you know, just slicing down that 10-0 record for what, 2 years, 3 years, actually, depending on how far back you want to go. And so no, don't worry. I mean, it's, yeah, you'll get a little bit more out of but it's incremental. Don't sweat it. Don't let that be the thing that makes you or breaks you on your car. Let's see. You know, saying I'm at sea level. I use 93 or MR12. And again, Gopher, thank you very much for the support, man. I truly appreciate it. Oh, Neo saying advantages with fuels like VP C12 or the higher octane allows you to push boost. That it does. And I think it's an oxygenated fuel. So it is leaded, that's for sure. It does smell good. With VP C12, I get 310 to the wheel on the H2. That's healthy. And yeah, MR12, a lot of these, you know, a lot of the, it's kind of funny. MR12, a lot of the guys that run that are big into that, running that with bikes. All of them are actually pretty decent. Again, as long as you're running the consistent fuel all the time, I think you'll be good. 40 pounds of boost on the H2. That is awesome. When messing around is no longer an option. Oh, Sam's checking in with Gopher. Oh, Gopher's hanging out with Neo. What, I missed something? Neo said I hit 232 on the street in one of my vids. You know what's interesting? The you know, talking about, you know, top speed runs and making really fast street runs. One of the funny things, when we used to do that back in the day with the cars, you know, guys would go, oh, that's crazy. And I would go, guy, you don't really understand. These things will cover that number, because we would do the 100 to 200 runs. And it's like, oh, that's nuts. And I remember trying to explain to somebody, as long as it hooks, the run, you just kind of go through the run and it doesn't really feel any different. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. You're collecting mile an hour, and these aren't senses that you haven't felt before. It's just that you carry this acceleration rate for far longer. And I was trying to explain that to somebody at one. Well, that's got to be insane. I'm like, dude, you don't understand. When you do that kind of stuff regularly, you're looking so far ahead. Like I am way over the horizon with what I'm looking for. It's cool after the fact, but I always knew that, you know, when I was doing it, I was there for a job. I was there to get something done, and I'm just looking where I want to go. I'm focused. Everything's cool. check gauges, everything cool, everything cool, everything cool. And that's it. Get out of the gas. But yeah, that's H2, baby. I love it. Oh, Neo is hanging out with Gopher. Yeah, keep it chilled. The key is no air. Oh, Rob's hanging out with Neo. Cody's asking thoughts on ABS on sport bikes. Dude, I was literally having this conversation earlier today. All right, look, I'm not a fan of ABS on sport bikes. Let me explain to you why. It's not the ABS that I have the problem with necessarily. What I have a problem with is ABS interfering under heavy braking. So let's say you're on track and you are coming off of a long straight. Okay, let's say you're at T Hill, you're at Thunder Hill, you're on the main front straight on the 3.2 mile course. You're on the main straight, you're dropping into turn one. Maybe that's not a really good one. Anyway, what you don't want is when you're coming into a corner and you're setting the bike up, you're looking where you want to go, you're on the brakes. A lot of times you'll get a little bit of wag out of a bike. That's totally normal. You're unweighting the rear of the bike and you're just kind of looking where you want to go, and the bike will kind of do something. And then as you sit down, the bike will just kind of, it'll load up and everything's good. You maintenance throttle or whatever to get through the corner. The thing that I don't like about ABS is that if you are really hard on the brakes and you're looking where you want to go and you get the brrr thing, that's when ABS is weird, because when it does that, you're losing. First of all, it breaks your concentration. Second of all, you're no longer doing what you were doing. Now you're having to react to something weird that the bike is doing. I understand that up to a certain point, it's a beneficial technology. I'm not going to say that I don't like it on bikes. I'm just saying that if I'm on the street and I'm doing stuff on the street, or if I'm on track, I need to be doing track stuff. And that's kind of the difference here, is that if you're doing track things, that stuff really kind of needs to be off. And I understand there's a lot of journos that'll go, well, I couldn't have gone as fast if I didn't have the ABS and the this and the that. I'm not hating on that. But the fact is that for some guys, it's not helping, right? It really isn't. What is helping these guys more than anything else is wheelie control, or the predictive throttle opening, torque limiting aspect of that whole system. That's what's helping your lap times, not the ABS portion of it. Because here's the thing, if you come in that hot into a corner and you're that hard on the brakes to where you're riding ABS into that corner, I don't, you're probably offline at that point. Things have gone weird for you, I believe, at that point. Let me check back in with you guys. Bear with me. Oh, Neo say, talking to Arrive 209 on pump, 232 on C12, and with 1-2 smaller rear sprocket. Giving her some legs. Brakes there's no better smell than leaded fuel. That's the sound of money getting burned, baby. Captain say my Hellcat plan is going 285 pulley injectors, fuel pump, supercharger, spacer. Don't worry about that. Snout bearing upgrade. Maybe then E15, E20 fuel. Don't worry about that. How do I calculate the fuel air ratio for E15 or E20? What's funny is if you want to know what it is for E15, E15 is 13.85. E10 is 1408. And E0 is 14.7. But in your Hellcat, just put it on you. It's just a lambda meter is all it is. And if you ever notice, it always looks like you're running richer than you should be with your air fuel ratio meter in your Hellcat. It's because it's calibrated to E15. Fun fact. but that's how you would figure it. It's just you take 14.7, like if you want to do E20, you would say 14.7 times zero point 0.8, and then 9.25 times zero point 0.2, and then add those numbers together. Gover saying 200 miles an hour is like 4 miles at full power. The wind is an asshole. Yes, it is. You cover that distance faster than you can think. So the crazy thing is 200 miles an hour is a funny number, because when we would do that on Hardy Toll Road, there is, between the two toll booths, there's an area in the road where you won't ever even notice it, that it kind of drops a little bit and then comes back up. It's just a slight undulation. And it usually would be hit by us at about 170 or 175 miles an hour. And you would hit it, and it would just, you'd be on it, down, up, down it. But it would just be enough to piss off some of the cars. The Porsches were always happy with it, but some of the Vipers got weird because of suspension geometry on that car. Oh, Rob's hanging out again with think Neo. Hang on just a second. DM, is it just me, or does race gas smell like good tequila and Fruit Loops? Here's the funny thing. Yeah, the older C12 actually smells like Fruit Loops. E85 smells like old socks. Neo saying shit, on several vids I've shown the H2 going from about 30 to 210 seconds. Look way ahead and let her rip for sure. Oh, Gopher's saying I run my Gixxer because it has no ABS. Yeah, no ABS behind me. And that's why my 636 is a no ABS bike also. Saying shed the ABS weight. Yeah, and it's in a weird spot too. I've actually thought about doing an ABS delete on my 1000. It really does help out brake feel. Neo saying, Captain, you got to adjust your AFR to compensate for the extra oxygen if you're already using the 85. Yeah, the thing is that on the Cats, my thing is this, we were putting in work with 93 octane. A lot of the silver car in most of the videos you'll see on my channel is a 285 car. And with 93 octane and like a little bit of boostane, that was a 970 car in really good air. Realistically speaking, for the Cats, I usually don't like going any more aggressive than a 295 blower pulley if you are at sea level, because what'll happen is you start to run out of fuel pump with that car, which is the first issue. The second issue, unless you've got a fuel system, the second issue is if you're not running out of fuel pump now, you may soon be running out of fuel pump, because the Hellcat's Achilles heel is the fuel pump. They start to fade after a while. They don't die, but they will fade. Neo, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. I do very much appreciate that. Saying great live. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you coming by. Oh, hang on. I did it again. I got this thing on the feed on my side where I'll hit it. I'll hit the feed thing and it'll go all the way to the top or all the way to the bottom. Man, how did I butcher this up so bad? But thank you very much. I appreciate it. Oh, Sam, talking to Gopher about the Sarasota Cars and Coffee. Go over saying Mason says his vids trail braking. You do not do that with ABS. You can look. You can when you're trail braking. All that means is that you're on the brakes, you're dropping in, and you're just basically rolling off the brake as you're gaining lean angle. The thing is that no, if you're coming in really hot, when I'm walking through those, if I come in real hot, the good thing is that I never on the 1,000 get it into where it's pissed off the ABS. Thank goodness. And that's a good thing, because this is the beauty of the Suzukis, and this is why a lot of folks are kind of like a little bit like gun shy of the 27 now, is that it's very unintrusive. The system that Suzuki has, A1 mode on my 1,000, it's letting you get away with pretty much everything. And I mean, it's easy to get used to that mode. And I've really only had it act goofy. The nannies will only kick in if I'm doing something like really I shouldn't be doing. But yeah, when I'm trail braking hard into a corner, I'm just relying on tires, and the bike doesn't ever intervene ever on braking with that bike, which is something that I freaking love about it, which is what a lot of guys are worried about with this newer bike. Now there are times where I will come in super hot and it's all engine braking, and every once in a while I'll fan just a little bit of rear brake. You'll never hear me say this in videos. Talking if I'm dragging a little bit of rear brake along with front, what I'm doing is I'm trying to get the bike to step out a little bit, and I'm think of it more like I'm adding engine braking than I am. This is not going to make any sense the way that I'm going to say it, but if I'm hard on engine braking coming in and I'm a little bit hot, I'll still be trail braking, but I'll fan the rear brake just a little bit to try to gain a little bit more rear end authority, basically, is the way I'm trying to say it. And it'll kick the back end out. The 1,000, I've only had to do that a few times, and that's because I was coming in crazy hot. And then I was immediately back on the power. And then the bike was immediately coming up in the air a little bit and letting me know that, being on the side of the tire, leaving a patch of rubber with the front end hovering a little bit. That's why you love leader bikes. But the good thing is that Suzukis do not really intervene too much, if at all, in A1 mode. Let's see. Go for saying I'm Gen X. We do shit at night. The funny thing is, funny you should say that. I am such a night owl. I am terrible during the day, and then it's like even my eyesight seems to get better at night. So I don't have it. Note to self, guys: if y'all are running at night, be careful of stuff in the road. I don't want to dive too deep into where I'm going with this, but just be careful of things in the road when you're on the side of the tire and you can't see through where you're going. Just saying. Okay, I'll share it with you. Hang on. I actually went back for this. On the side of the tire on the 1,000, this little guy. See that? This little bastard. This guy was in the road. Hit it. Yeah. S22s to the rescue. Thank you, Jesus. Let's see. Oh, where we go? Here we go. Oh, Governor said my best GPS is 168. Hey, that's still moving. 168's getting after it. Why is it doing that? Here we go. Oh, Governor saying across Florida is not far from me. I'm a retired trucker. Nice. I've done 230 miles on my 750 in one day. I could see it on one of these bikes. We used to put a ton of miles on these bikes in NorCal. You ever saying I saw Tank lose his boost on the tollway in Texas? Ooh, was a slight hill. He hit it at 180. Ooh. Zach's asking, do you think an 07 CBR 1000RR is worth modding for power or just get a faster 1000? Just get a faster 1000. 07 RR is a great bike, but it's not one that you want to try to do anything with. I mean, if it's a Repsol bike or something like that, it's a cool bike, but it's a generation late. The 08, 09, 10s are really where that bike came into play. But the 07 is just a little on the heavy side. Again, it's a hell of a bike built like a tank. But no, I wouldn't fool with that one. I would probably see about a different bike. Kevin saying, so for the Hellcat E20, for example, if I want to adjust for wide open fueling, what's the ideal AFR for it? Lambda 08? Yes. Yeah, Lambda 08, Lambda 078, or Lambda 78, if you want to run it a little bit rich. It's not going to hurt anything, by the way. There's not a best Lambda. There's a range that we would run. And 78, 80, I didn't really like to see 81. Mainly just because you're looking for more charge cooling out of the fuel than anything at that point. So yeah, for your Lambda, just go 78 just like you normally would and let her rip. The GT500 was 718 wheel on 93. God, man, that is a car I should have bought so long ago. Oh, Gover saying VMP Gen 2.3. Dude, that's a good one there too. Oh, Neo saying you want to seek 12.1 for big boost. Yeah, for his for the Hellcats, you're typically going to go a little bit richer. If you're going straight, the reason why I say like 11, it's not by much, but you like 1180, 1190 is the number that we would typically go for with those cars. And the only reason for that, again, is charge cooling. You've got this freaking positive displacement supercharger that is doing nothing but generating heat. And there's no making that better. And for longer runs with those cars, they just turn into ovens. God, I don't even know if it's in this computer. Because on for Mopars, it's fuel air mixture, not air fuel. But anyway, it's very still a lot of the stuff tuning Mopars is still very much Mercedes-Benz technology, which is to say a lot of things are backwards. Oh, Gopher. Yeah, it doesn't mean you can't travel at high speeds. It slushes the brakes. That is very true. At high speeds, if you're diving in with ABS, they don't rely on that. Get rid of that. Oh, Sam saying he blew up a transmission coming into Palmetto. Yeesh. Go, Gopher saying I'm a more Mafia 750 has no safeties. No, we don't have any. None. Zero. Gopher's not liking the Road 4s. Go back to Power Cups. I tell you what, I on the street playing around, especially on the middleweights. Oh, S22s, S23s. They don't last that long, but man, they're good. Well, on the middleweights they do. On the bigger bikes, not so much. Sam's wanting to race some lawnmowers. Go Road 4s are good in the rain. Yes, they are. I'll tell you what's also not bad. I have I've run the Bridgestones in the rain, and they actually did pretty good. Yeah, I'm kind of funny. I stick with one thing when I know it works. It's it's kind of hard for me to ebb in and out. Go from 50 years old. That's funny. Because I'm 51. Same. A bunch of us skifties out there. I like it. It was saying you can get Gen 5 ZX10s all day for 10 grand, makes 185 horsepower, like clockwork. Love that. Man, I do love me some ZX10. Gopher saying 51 in 29 days, counting it down. Oh, Gopher's got a buddy with an RT Challenger stripped out with a bunch of fiberglass. Yeah, I tell you what, when I got out of the car stuff, man, I got to tell you, my life seemed to get a whole lot better when I got back into bikes. I can't. It's really hard for me to get. It's. I don't want to say it. This is going to sound like an asshole thing to say, but I have a hard time getting back into Mopar stuff or back into car stuff because, dude, I can have a bunch of these and go out and just goof off and have fun and, just, do my, just buzz the thing up to 100 and like with this one, buzz it up to 150 something indicated, 160 something indicated with the 1K, buzz it up to 170 indicated and just, I'm having fun. And go hit, get the thing on the side of the tire. And I just absolutely love that. So I try to help folks out still on the car stuff. I still spec cams for shops on occasion, but I'm not doing any more peer reviews on tunes. I'm not doing any of that stuff anymore just because it turned into a bit of a fiasco. Let's see. Mickey's asking ceramic wheel bearings in the 750. Any thoughts? It's winter here already. Started rebuilding the brakes. I mean, if you're already there, you might as well. Does it really make a difference? Everything makes a difference. Every little thing makes a little difference. Now, we're going to start getting into the ant bite theory, which is also known as the drops in a bucket theory. How many little bits does it take to make a lot theory? Everything makes a difference. It's just, does it make enough of a difference on its own? No. But it, along with everything else, is part of the sum that makes it better. So, if you want to do it, then do it. But the reality is that you don't have to do it. Cap saying, I am planning on bead locks on the Hellcat once all the parts are installed, approximately 850 wheel horsepower, but I want to know, is it actually lighter than stock 20s? It's not lighter, but the mass is more centralized. Maybe the rim is light, but the tire will be heavier. The rim will be heavier, but again, the mass will be centralized, so your moment of inertia is less. So you're okay. Go for it. Neo saying I have a white 2019 Hellcat with a 6-speed manual, making 900 to the wheels. Very nice on Shell 92. Haven't had any issues yet. That's a happy place to be. And as long as you're running Shell, which is a really good fuel, you should be good. Plus, it's a manual. So again, a little bit less load, a little bit easier on the tune, a little bit easier on the fuel too. Oh, Gopher. Yeah, I get it. You'll never hear me telling. Yeah, you'll never. Yeah. My thing is, I want to make sure that everybody is safe and having fun. As long as people are having fun, safe, they're getting better, they're learning the equipment that they're riding. That's all I care about. I want to make sure that folks, as you progress and as you get better, you're comfortable in that space and that there's folks around that can help you in that endeavor. Oh, Neo's got a C63. Dude, that is still one of my favorite cars. So I had a, now this is an older one. I had a W211 E63 AMG that I absolutely loved. Should have never gotten rid of that one. Go for saying I created a monster. That's the one. Any front runners for a Charger that are as good as the M&H Race Masters but cheaper? Yeah. What was I running? Oh hell. Um, the Mickey Thompson radial runner, which is the high pressure runner, the one that you run at 85 psi, and I cannot remember it off the top of my head. I ran DBRs out back, and I cannot remember the front runners. Anyway, the Mickey Thompson high pressure runners that were developed for the Hellcat, they're heavy, but they deal with the weight of the car exceptionally well. And you run them at, I ran mine at 75 PSI, 75 to 80. Sam, I'm sticking with my diesel. Oh, Neil, yep. Got vids of that one on the channel. Nice. Oh, the S4. S4 and all-wheel drive, dude. I love me some S4 too. Oh, Sam with one of the diesels put down some nasty torque. Nice. Oh, Gopher saying almost got the 663. Cap's asking, is there any benefit to raising stock ship points on a Hellcat? Not really, especially with pulleys. Is it safe? I mean, does the stock cam benefit from slightly higher RPM like to 6,300? Some guys were running them out to like 65, 66. I wouldn't do that. The reason why is because you're hemorrhaging torque at that point. The power curve starts to flatten out. It's just not worth it. Depends on what you're up to with that car. You might in first and second gear actually drop your shift point a little bit. That way you're dropping down into a very fat part of your torque curve. But don't worry about running that thing out. The only time you extend your RPM in a Hellcat, because remember, the faster you spin that blower, the hotter things get, is in whatever gear. So your car is going to be in fifth gear, going into sixth gear, going through the traps, right? So you're not going to be at the top of sixth gear. But for some cars, you would extend fifth gear a little bit so you don't have a shift towards the end of the run. But that's the only time I would ever really carry a gear any further with a Hellcat. Zach's asking if I have any thoughts on the 4.6 and the 2000 Ford Mustang. They sound amazing. They're a lot of fun to drive. They just don't make a whole lot of power. It's a 2-valve architecture, and even the 4-valve 4.6s weren't making a ton of power unless we're talking about one of the Termies. So they sound amazing. They're a lot of fun. They're torquey little engines, but that's about as far as I would take it. Just build one and have fun with it. Again, I don't think there's an engine that sounds better than a 2-valve 4.6. Oh, Gophers, the little lady liked the Audi. Oh, yeah, saying I shifted about $6,000, but I'm trying to preserve my drivetrain. $6,000's a very happy place for Hellcats. Sam saying it's a 6-speed truck. I can imagine that would suck in traffic. You were saying I got her $1,800 in 034 Motorsport upgrades. Nothing too crazy. Those things are a lot of fun. Saying now I'm planning on building a 3.0 Duramax. Oh, nice. Gopher's asking about the 4.6. Which one is it? 0304 SN95 GT or Cobra? The Cobras are nice, man. Listen, the funny thing is that I've never owned a GT500 and I've never owned a Cobra. I've had 2 Lightnings. And I got to tell you, I absolutely love the aughts for some of the stuff that Ford was doing. I mean, the Lightning was awesome. The Termies were awesome. There's a lot of cool stuff going on back then, even though they were about as inefficient as you can get in terms of a combination. They still worked. So, Neo saying, very cool live. Thank you very much. Everybody hit like and subscribe. Yes. Like, subscribe. Listen, if you're new to the channel, I do truly appreciate you hanging out with us. I typically will do this show Tuesdays and Saturdays. I try to go live around 9 o'clock, and I'm usually on for about an hour. Talking about a little bit of everything. Engine powered, by the way. But thank you very much. I appreciate the support too, guys. Thank you all so much. I do appreciate that. Cap saying, for the 707s, assuming the tune is perfect theoretically, how much max real horsepower can the stock engine handle safely long term? Can we push beyond 900? What's the weak point? Okay, you got to be careful in this when you're quoting numbers. I'm used to eddy current dyno, Mustang dyno. Look, the Bravo packages at Pikes, that package, it's an E85 package. So that's key. But the E85 package cars, which, I mean, damn, what good forever. Look, here's the thing. If you're running on pump gas and you're running a 295 upper, or you're running pump gas and you're running like a 10% lower, now screw that. Go with the 295 upper. A conservative tune with that setup. My stock car put down 666. Pretty cool, eh? That car would put down around 700 on a Mustang dyno. Big difference. So add 10% to these numbers. On a Mustang dyno, 295s would put down like 705, maybe 715. So around, on a dyno jet, maybe, I don't know, 750, 760, right? Somewhere in that range, just kind of spitballing numbers. On pump gas, that's as much as I would put down. The reason for all of that is the weight of the car, which is number one. Number two, it's about as aerodynamic as the laptop that I'm looking at right now. There is no aerodynamics to that car. And what happens is what's cool playing around with it, when you really start to stretch its legs, you are loading that thing up in a whole new different kind of way. And you will start to potentially run into some issues, especially the guys that were running. The guys would do like the 200 mile an hour club with them and stuff like that, do the half mile and mile events. You got to be kind of mindful of that, and keep in mind load is timing, because load increases dwell time. So there's a lot of stuff that you got to think about when you're putting these things together, and how are you going to use it? What kind of load is it going to hit? There's a lot that comes to that. So for the different kinds of fuel, you have different answers to that question. Hopefully that didn't screw up anything. So E85, you can almost get away with murder with like a 295, or rather a 285 pulley car on corn. Shit. In fact, I think on E85, you can do a full timing sweep and never have knock. You can actually go past MBT with that thing with the 85, and it'll just start losing power. And I did that. So what I would do, God bless you, hours upon hours with Hellcats on a dyno, I would literally make a hit, run it. What does the power look like? Add 2 degrees. Hit it, run it. Power any good? Picked up a little? How much? Not that much. Take a degree out of it. Run it. Did it lose anything? Nope. Drop another degree. Run it. Everything looked good. Save it. Save the tune. Next. And for the E85 cars, I mean, you could literally, for the lower pulley number cars, you could march this thing past, 17, 18, 19, 20 degrees of timing. Okay, it doesn't like that. Okay, bring it back. Does it like that? Okay, bring it back a little bit more and hold it. And that's it. And then we would, lots of street tuning, lots of high load, talking about speed. So, okay, we take the car out, high load, high gear. Okay, that's 6 gear, top of 6, in an 8-speed trans, and you're trying to make sure that everything looks clean in real world conditions with real aerodynamic drag and everything else. But that, I know it's a broad, I painted that answer with a really broad stroke, but Gopher saying ported termies are easy 500 to 800. Yes, stock bottom end. Those bottom ends were sick in the termies. Sam's like in the 360 or the 400s. 400s sound good. Saying Cat pushing past 900. Pushing past 900. Here's the funny thing with the Hellcats. It's not the bottom end that you have to worry about. It's lifting a head gasket that you have to worry about with those cars, because just like any other supercharged application, they'll keep making power until something goes wrong. And so what's funny is that we had some really nasty stock SBE builds, stock bottom end builds. I would not recommend it. I don't like anything past, frankly, I don't like anything past on a Mustang dyno, 815, 830, 840, somewhere in that range. On a Mustang dyno, I don't like seeing anything past that number on a Hellcat stock bottom end. Just don't do it. Because if it's stock bottom end, you've got stock head gaskets. Stock head gaskets, you've got a potential issue there. And especially if you want to try to push that envelope a little bit, it's just not worth it. Besides, you got to remember you're creeping into a range of power that what's weird is with Hellcats, they just eat it up. The Hellcats don't have a problem with it because they're built like a tank. You've got a crazy strong transmission, great driveline, but here's the problem. You're going to start running into driveline limitations like half shafts or differential limitations before you'll run into the block issues. But I still say leave the recipe alone, build a very solid, very repeatable combination, stay on top of your fuel pumps, data log regularly, and you will have a very happy, healthy Hemi. Meek's got a 23 single cab F-150 Dude, I'm jealous. I love those trucks. Where I live, there's quite a few of them running around, but 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive, and I absolutely love those trucks. Gopher saying, large Pro Charger or R8 V10? Oh, R8 V10 sounds really good. Sam saying, check out Sheepy Race R8 V-Twin, 2,800 horsepower. Yeet. Sam's liking the 671. 671s always sound good. The glorious sound of inefficiency, but they do sound crazy. Actually, that's not true. A lot of guys will say the 671 or 871s aren't efficient. That's absolutely untrue. They're very efficient at lower RPM because they're big and they move a lot of air. It's trying to force that thing to move more air where you really turn that thing into a convection oven. Gopher saying Sheepy, Calvo, and Underground, they're still hyper money builders, Lambos, Vipers, and GTRs. Absolutely. Calvo started coming into their own when I was getting I'd say it's about 4 or 5 years after I got out of Vipers. Sid's asking, best tires for the 636 that is somewhat longer lasting. Can you do a 636 suspension setup walkthrough? Keen to know your suspension settings. I'm glad you asked. I'll be right back. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. Hang on. All right, guys. So, as requested, you guys know that every bike in the shop has its own whiteboard. And the reason why every bike has its own whiteboard is so that I can stay on top of what all things that I've done, what all changes that I've made. And then I've got my little spreadsheet that I've made that I'll go through and I'll make the changes, and I'll have what I'll also do is I'll have like shots of the shop manual printed out, you know, all the setups and all the factory setups as well. So as it sits now, the sag, okay, this will be easier for you to read. The front sag is at 35 millimeters. The rear sag is at 34 with 6 millimeters of free sag. Compression is basically halfway +2. What that's basically saying is I've gone +2 on the settings from base settings. So anywhere you say halfway +1, that means I set the compression at halfway through its travel and then gave it +1, which means 2.5. So that's what all this gibberish over here is reading. You'll see the chain, 30 to 40 millimeters worth of slack, axle bolts at 96 foot-pounds, which is crazy for that. Tire pressure, 35, 37. And then I'll give the oil, and then I'll do the shifter. What I'll also do is I will do the measurement, although this is a little bit right here, a little bit of a dated measurement because I put the FT ECU sensor on the ZX6. So anyway, that's how I've got the bike set up. Now, what all does that mean? Well, what it means is that I have turned the compression almost as far as the preload on the fork, because remember, it's SFF, separate function forks. The right fork is the one with the spring in it. And so what I've done is I've adjusted it within about a turn and a half from being fully compressed. That's given me the 35 millimeters of adjustment. And then I've got, I'll just hold this too if you want to come back and do a screenshot. Hopefully that helps you out. And then out back, I just tightened it up until I got 34 millimeters out of it. And then I started adjusting the hydraulics from there. And the whole point of that is, was to try to get the bike to act right and to not be a pogo stick. And so I finally got it all sorted out. The bike handles exceptionally well. But I got to say, as much as I like the 636, I'm not very comfortable with it. The mass centralization thing, I like it, but I, at speed, prefer the 5743 weight distribution of the Gixxers. Oh, and best tires for the 636, S22s. I absolutely love S22s from middleweights. Since asking also, did you check your valves every 7,500 miles in the ZX6? I don't have that many miles on it yet. And yeah, the 24 and ups have lower intervals. The reason for that is they have much better valve springs than the previous generations. They've got a shorter duration cam though, and that beats the living snot out of the buckets. So that's the reason for that. It's the same lift, but a little bit less duration, which isn't a bad thing for making power. It can actually be a good thing, but it can be a little bit rough on components. Oh, Gophers, the S4 runs out of, it looks like the pump runs out at 900. Oh, Cap saying, since a supercharger produces a lot of heat, why don't new engines do pure water injection to cool the air charge? Because they used to, believe it or not. Oh, hell, who was it? First car that had the water injection. I should know this, a trivia question. And it wasn't spraying the intercooler. It was, I want to say it was a Studebaker Avanti. Avanti had it, I think. And that had water and methanol injection. The reason why they don't do it is because that would require people to do that separately. And they just never felt like that was something that folks would want to do. And with modern fueling and with modern electronics, you don't really have to do that so much anymore. But yeah, you can. I mean, that's something that is very, I mean, yeah, water and meth injection is still something that's some people use it. I'm not a huge fan of it. and you can do it, and it does help drop air charge temps, but it's got to be done right, and it's got to be distributed properly, or else you can make a mess of it. Gophers, 14 pounds of boost at low RPMs. Wait. Attack's asking, what is the early year of Gixxer Thou would you recommend? I was looking at a K5. Dude, if you can find a clean K5, 6, or 7, they're killer bikes, man. I love them. They're awesome bikes. They don't make a ton of power. That's the small bore motor. But they are super torquey. So, I mean, if you're into that look and that kind of bike, it's arguably the best of the group in terms of just being a hell of a good motorcycle. And when I say they don't make as much power, it's not to say they don't make a lot of power. They make a shitload of power. It's just that they don't make the crazy numbers that these modern bikes do. They make more realistic numbers, I should say. It's a better way to put it. So, getting 155, 160 out of one of those bikes is pretty easy at the rear tire. And at that power level, that 150 to 160 horsepower power level is a very fun place to be on a motorcycle. Yeah, K5 through L5 for sure. Cap's asking, what's better for roll racing dragging numbers? Is it stiffer suspension track mode or normal soft better? Does the softer suspension give better launch during roll race due to weight shift? Nah, just leave it in sport. Don't worry about it. All of my records, by the way, were set in sport or street, but that's from a dig. I just always ran it in sport, and I never really liked the shifting in track, and I could never fix it in the tune. Go for it with those bikes very close. Yeah, just outside of cosmetics. Yeah, big time. Gopher's right. Look for maintenance. That's the main thing. Sid, yeah. So the funny thing about the ZX6, what I said is I don't really feel that comfortable on it. So the ZX6 feels very much like, it's how do I put this? It feels a lot like a leader bike with the way that you can dive into corners. Now it's not, a 636 has a really quick, what I would call a roll rate, and it's extremely stable on the side of the tire. But it lacks front end feel. And when it lacks front, like compared to a GSXR or a CBR, for example, or like my GSXR 1000 has really good front end feel, sometimes a little bit too good. And so what the 636 does exceptionally well is it takes a little bit of the feel out of the front of the tire, and it trades that for high speed mid corner stability. And it's a little bit taller of a bike than the 750. I feel more comfortable on this than I do on the 636. Not that I feel uncomfortable per se, but I can feel what's going on a little bit better with the Suzuki's platform. But if I were to have a track only middleweight, it would be really hard for me to argue against the 636. But I would probably want to gear it to where I'd have a little bit better mile an hour out of the thing, to where I could use maybe fifth gear a little bit more effectively. It would depend on the track though. But it's a way that the bike feels. And here's the other thing. It's part of that weight distribution thing, which is what made the Rosso 4s feel so skittish. Again, I like to have a little bit more load over the front tire. And my goodness, the Rosso 4s, I would have the 636 on the side of the tire And it was the tires that were screwing up how I was trying to set that suspension up. When I switched tires and went with a tire that gave better front end feel, that's when that bike was completely transformed. Enjoy the ride saying, oh, the 05 Gixxer 1000 had frame problems. That's right. It was five and 6 may have. Not sure if that's exactly right, but that is a good point. I didn't even think of that. Gopher's asking, if you want to run big boost from a blower, you run alcohol. You don't even need a radiator with methanol. Well, I mean, for drag racing, you're right. And look, and if you want to run big boost, yes, run alcohol, but just know that you are going to be range limited. Diem is checking out. Good night, my friend. Enjoy saying greetings from Tennessee. Greetings. Had a lot of fun in Tennessee. Very hospitable folks. Kevin saying, what are your thoughts on engine oils for Hellcat? Many guys run 5W50, which are modded. I run AMSOIL Signature 040. Is there any benefit to going heavier for modded engines? Not really. I don't mind the 5W50 thing. It's all about engine heat. The 040 is really good at dealing with boosted applications. So, you start getting the oil hot. Depends on what you're up to with the car. But yeah, 5W50 is fine. 040 is fine too. I've done so much. This is so crazy. And I don't even know how I can share it on here. I've got a spreadsheet that I put together 2 or 3 years ago that just dives deep into oil. And I did such a deep dive into that stuff. And all it did was convince me that it just doesn't matter. Use good quality synthetic. And if you're really turning up the heat on that thing, then yeah, go with a 550. You'll be fine. 040, you're probably going to be fine too. Gopher saying, the only thing I've learned from roll racing is power applied when the platform can capitalize is key. Very true. Your body weight and settings are personal. What makes me fast is not the same, which is very true. Listen, man, we are all wired differently. What I like, some people can't stand, and vice versa. And look, I mean, that's why if it works for you, man, just keep doing whatever works for you. You'll never hear me give anybody advice on something that is, if something's working for you, you're never going to hear me talk it down. That's what you need to keep doing. Mickey's asking why the S double duck and not the S23 price. The middleweight bikes, I mean, you don't really need to spend the extra money when the 22 is going to do really well. And listen, we've put the 22s through hell. I got a buddy of mine, Orange Crush, that is nasty on 22s with his GSX-R 1000. Kev's asking, can stock Hellcat tunes handle E15? Sorta. Do the stock fuel lines in the car handle ethanol? Yes. Do they degrade? No. It depends on your altitude and your density altitude, whether or not you can handle E15. I have found the limit of the fueling table on a couple of occasions with my car. So I would say don't try to cheat it up. It's not really all that worth it, especially if you're rocking low DAs like negative 1500 and better. I wouldn't do it. If you never see a density altitude below 1,000 feet, then it wouldn't be a problem. And Govers, yeah, bikes are so personalized. Settings for one is not necessarily the one for you. Here's my thing, and I actually smeared some of these numbers. But as long as the rider sag is within an acceptable range, then everything else hydraulics is only there for personal preference. I mean, I get it. There's some track versus street and all this other stuff. That's going to come into play. But for the most part, it's going to be more rider preference than anything else. And then, you measure, you set, you put your zip ties, you make sure everything's cool. You do your due diligence to make sure that the setting is fit for your use of the machine. And as you get faster, you're going to have to go a little bit stiffer. Things are going to have to be capable and fit for task, right? Remember, it's all about being fit for task. And what's fit for task for me may or may not be fit for task for you, but the sag numbers are really there more to ensure that you're not bottoming out the suspension under hard braking or something like that. Y'all always want to go with like the 2 centimeter rule on that, 2 finger rule, if you can get away with it under normal braking, and the 10 to 12 millimeter rule for hard braking. So it's saying, for better front end feel, do you think a more V-shaped tire helps? Maybe a more communicative carcass. I like a soft carcass. That's what'll communicate the most. With a rounded tire, I tend not to trust the front end at lean, but a V-shape is better. Depends. Yeah, it all depends on the tire. And sometimes you got to play around with different tires. Miggy, you're welcome. Oh, and Joy's saying, I've found that I would prefer a mediocre tire and excellent suspension. The best tire in the world does nothing if not in constant contact with the ground. That's true. It's the right suspension setup. And where a lot of guys get it wrong is like rebound dampening. A lot of guys go way too aggressive on rebound dampening. Rebound dampening is what keeps the tire on the ground. It's funny. A good spring rate with a compliant suspension is always going to feel good. It's always going to give you confidence. The problem is it can give you a little bit too much confidence, and you start to come into corners a little too hot, and you find yourself, where you're using a lot more suspension travel than you need to. But again, as long as you're within acceptable parameters, then it doesn't matter. And a softer is always going to be better when it comes to feel. Hard is a nightmare. And that's when you're really, remember, your tires are also part of your suspension, guys. So, that's why tire pressures are important for feel. Then tire pressure for a lot of things, it's not really traction, although it does come into play. And yes, under high loads, you do want to have the right pressure because you're going to increase pressure as temperature goes up. And you don't want to have cold tears. And no. I get all that. I know. But for the most part, for those of us in the canyons, on B roads, and up in the mountains, rocking 34, 36, 36, 36, 35, 37, that's going to be perfectly fine in terms of feel, how it's going to wear, for how you're riding it, and for a very fast street setup. Grover saying the only way to be fast is to practice being fast. That's one way to do it, but you've got to keep practicing. It's consistent practice, and practice doing it the right way. Don't worry about your MAF sensor. Honestly, it's not hurting anything. There's nothing. It's not impeding anything. Literally, don't worry about it. We all have forgotten about that thing once we start tuning the older 15 and 16 cars. Cab saying, because newer cold air intakes don't support the older MAF. We set all the records with the stock airbox. Now, that being said, we also had some damn good air, but all the major records were set with stock air boxes. Mine were all set stock air box, stock air filter, by the way. Enjoy saying, yeah, good point on the too much rebound dampening. Yep. You can see it when they start shredding tires. You'll see it pretty quickly. You'll see them start to cold tear right away. What's my tire pressure on the 750? 34 front, 36 rear. Gopher saying he likes 34 rear, 36 front. I know a lot of guys that do the inverse of that. Down here, yeah, 34, 36, 34, 35 is another one that 34, 35, 34, 36 is what I run on the 1000. Enjoy saying, you're a great host, juggling multiple subjects and swapping in between cars and bikes. Thank you. Got a lot of experience with both, I think. So it helps. It helps when you've done it and you can talk about it. But with that, guys, man, we had a fun show tonight. I want to thank all of you guys for making it in. I have got to get back to work. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Neo, if you're still on, thank you so much for the support. Gopher, thank you so much. Man, I appreciate you guys a ton. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Listen, love each and every one of y'all. Would not do this without you. But I got to get back to work. Listen, as always, don't forget to do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know, especially this time of year. And with that, I'm going to get back to work on this thing. We'll probably be back on Saturday. That's a bit of a maybe. It's going to depend on if the exhaust gets here for this thing. If it doesn't, I'll be working on that. But if I don't see you guys on Saturday, I hope to see you guys on the next Two Wheel Tuesday. But with that, again, thank you all so much for stopping by. Hope to see you on the next one. Y'all take it easy.